So today we're going to be testing two different desktop lasers. So when I come to purchase these a few weeks ago, the first place I went to was YouTube, but today I wanted to do a test side by side and see which one is the better one, the 5 watt or the 10 watt laser. But I wanted to just make the point before we started is that I've not been sponsored, my opinions are my own, and they're all based on the results that we're going to get today from the test that we run. The first one is the Algo Pixi 5 watt laser. Nice neat little desktop laser. If you can actually see with my hand actually how small this little laser is. Perfect if you haven't got much space at home, or maybe you want to take it to markets or shows like I do. And the beauty with this one is it's got its own touch screen, so you don't actually need to take your laptop with you when you go out. The only downside to this one is it hasn't got an air that you can attach to, and it hasn't got its own filter. The other one we're going to be testing today is the Sculpfun, and this one's a 10 watt laser. This one has actually got the filter built into the back of them. I've actually purchased the extra air for it. I think it was like another £70. And if we just have a good look around these lasers, just unplug it and then I can show you around the back. This here is actually for a little focusing tool. It actually goes in the back there. I don't find that very convenient, to be honest with you. I like to put it up out the way because I feel like that's going to get lost if it's at the back and I can't see it all the time. But that's so you can focus, actually a little focusing tool. You turn it on and off on the little button at the back as well. You can actually attach an external air filter to it, so you can pop in your own air filter there and attach to that. It's also got handy dandy little pen so that you can work the touch screen. So you turn it on, like I said, at the back there, and as we turn it on, the touch screen comes on. So the nice thing about this one is it's got a little click, which is a safety feature, so it actually won't laser until you've got that protection screen down. We just put in the pin number. You can disable the pin number, and I'll show you later how all this works, but you can work this without using light burn and straight off this laser itself, which is nice and compact, especially if you're taking it out. Personally, I prefer to use my light burn. And then you've got this here, little protection cover, and it shows you into the top. If I can just get into the top of the laser. This is how you focus. You use this little hammer. It just sits between there and whatever material that you've got, and then you just use the screw up and down to do your focus. Okay, we'll put some material under that in a minute. Just put that back together. So the other laser that we've got is the Sculpfun, and this is a 10 watt laser, and it's lightweight and it's portable. It is slightly bigger, as you can see side by side. It's got a protective screen that goes on, but you should always wear your glasses anyway when you're lasering. Unlike the Pixi, this will laser without this protective screen on. This one is a little bit more convenient. It's got a drop down for your focusing, and again it's a similar thing. You have to keep your hand underneath and it moves up and down with the little screw lever there. Tighten it up when you've got the height that you want, and then it tucks away. Just see there, it's got its own built-in air filter, which again is another great feature if you want to take it out to shows. Let me just turn it round. And again, you can attach your hose just like you can with the Pixi, and set it to your external filter if you like. I like both these, if I'm honest with you. At first I did prefer the Pixi just because of its size, but practicability, taking it to a market or a show, is that's already got the air filter built in, so you haven't got to worry about taking any external filters with you, got to worry about smells or anything like that. Like I say, this one has got protective a screen that goes, it just fits underneath there, but you can laser with that one off, whereas this one you can't. Okay, so the purpose of this video is how good are these desktop lasers? How good is the 5 watt and how good is the 10 watt? You can use these machines if you are new to lasering. Maybe you haven't got a lot of room at home, or maybe it's just a hobby. These are perfectly fine to use, and they're perfectly fine for, like I say, if you're taking them out to markets like I am. But what I want to do is I want to put them against each other and just see, first of all, for my own peace of mind, how good they are, and before I decide which one I actually want to take out and about with me. So we're going to test 2 different products today. I'm going to test slate coasters, and I'm going to be testing some offcuts of wood that I've got, which is just beech wood. So if we just turn now over to Lightburn on my computer, you can see that I've done 2 different files. One for the Algo Pixi 5 watt laser and one for the Sculpfun 10 watt laser. Both exactly the same files to run a test with, and if I just open this now, you can see that it goes from very light to very dark for the power settings. If you're new to lasering, there's loads of information on the web and on YouTube for different test grids that you can run for different products that you put on your laser. I've done exactly the same one for the Sculpfun 10 watt laser, very light to very dark. And like I say, the only difference is the speed settings. So on this one I've done 1000 to 3000 for the speed settings, and on the Pixi I've started at 400 to 1800, and I actually think that that's going to make a bigger difference depending on which laser that we're on. I think maybe the lower end for the Pixi, and maybe anything between 1500 to 2000 on the Sculpfun. Let's get some material set up. So I've been and I've already got myself some slate, so we'll test slate first. I've got some offcuts that I've used. This is a jig that I made, so I've got some offcuts for them. Although, handy little trick, when I take one of these to my next show, I'm planning on, with these offcuts, especially taking this one, and I'll show you why later, is doing a little demonstration, maybe like getting some children involved so they can do their own creation on the touch screen, and I can use some offcuts and they can do their own. Obviously I'll do the laser for them, they'll just design it, take a walk for 10 minutes, come back, and they'll have a nice little maybe hanger for the door, might even put a hole in and make it into a Christmas decoration. Right, so we're going to get this slate set up, we're going to put it under both lasers, and we're going to do it both together and see where they go. So now we've got the file sorted, now I want to go and put the material under each laser and then we'll run them side by side. So if I first of all put some slate under, and we're going to get this lined up again, like I say, use your little hammer, take off the protective top, and we're just going to focus. This is a bit of a pain, I must admit. I'm not a huge fan of these, it's just not practical, but it does its job. It focuses it up just as it says. So that's the first one done, and let's get this Sculpfun set up. So we just move the laser back a little bit, pop that under, just make sure you've got your hand underneath, and that is it. Tucks back under, so much more practical, especially if you're going to take them out. Okay, so jump back onto the computer, I'm going to run these tests. I'm going to run 4 different grids on the slates. I'm going to run them all at different DPIs, starting from 250 and go up to 300, which is actually 299.88. Then I'll run the same test grids on the wood, but I'm only going to stick at 250 DPI for them ones and just try and dial that in, because I'm not really sure how these lasers are going to go with the wood. Let's turn this on. It's just at the side there. This is going to be very noisy because I have got the air set to that. The first things first is we're going to put our glasses on and our protective shield. We know it's all at the right height, and it's a little bit quieter now we've done that. Okay, so that completes all of our tests on slate and on wood, and I'm going to give you my conclusion now. Obviously, first of all, we did the slates and we did different DPIs. So we started off at 250 DPI. This is the Sculpfun one. Then we went up to 270, which actually turns out 26993. Then we did a 300 DPI just on the back, because I do believe the 300 DPI is the better one, especially for the slate. So my conclusion, I would say, for the slate, I think that the best results that we've got at 300 DPI is 3000 at 40%. So that is the bottom one, and it's that one there. I try and get it into the light. I mean, you can see that there's burning all up here, but I think that the best one is this one here. You can see how white it is, and it starts burning, and it's just not quite as crisp on the 30% one. And then coming across to the Pixi one, again we did the exact same tests, and you can actually see, considering this is a 5 watt laser, more burning on this one. I think out of all these that we've done, the best one is the 300, which is the 29988, and on here I would say a little bit slower on this one, so 1800 at 50%. So that's the bottom one. 50% is that one there, and again you can see that's fairly white. That's a little bit wishy-washy, and then you start getting browner and browner. I mean, any of these three are pretty good. I don't think I'll go any slower on this slate, simply because if you can see the difference between, I'll try and get it into the light, that one and that one, there's less browning I think on this than there is on here. I mean, going back to the 300, just looking now, you could probably do 800 at 20%. There, it's a nice crisp clean lines. Okay, so then we go to the wood. So on the wood we did a test just like we did on the slate, and then I did an image and I did a vector, and I did them 2 different speeds and DPIs depending on the machine. So I slowed the speed down and upped the percentage on that one, but on this one I did that, slowed it down, but I also upped the DPI just to see where we got to. So let's get these slates out of the way. These are exactly the same. This was a bigger test going all the way up to 80%. As you can see that this one actually come through, and this machine will cut. I've got the extra air on and I've got the bottom grid, so it will actually cut. Personally, I don't need it to, so that's going to be a preference of the user's choice really. 250 DPI, and then I basically upped it to 300 DPI, and I just took this area here 20% to 40% over here, made it slightly bigger. On the wood for the Sculpfun, 2500 at 20% is pretty good. I can try and get that in to shot. That's the wood for the Sculpfun. But when I come over here, I tested the word image in 3000 at 20%, and I actually think it's nice and crisp. When I did it the second time, I upped the percentage, and you can see it's just burnt way too much. So this is 300 DPI, this is the image, and this is the vector, and I actually think it did a really good job. This side is 3000 at 30% on the wording, and you can see the difference. These are both the same. It's really burnt in, you can hear that. So I would stick with 3000 at 30% for your wording. But when it comes to your vectors and your images, I didn't change the DPI, all I did was up to the power. So I think the absolute best, which is this one, and then for the image, which is this one here at the top, I did 2400 at 30%. So I slowed it down a little bit from 3000, and I upped the percentage, which I think we got pretty good results there. And then for the vector, 3000 at 40% is actually, I think, really good. That's at 30% at 3000, so I slowed it down and I upped the power. So yeah, nice crisp clean results. So that's the Sculpfun, and let's go on to the wood for the Pixi. So the first test was done at 250 dpi. I dialed it in then at 29988 or 300 dpi, just to see. You can see the difference in how I've upped it. They're nice and dark on this side, a little bit lighter, and I did 20 to 50% here, and this is 30 to 90%. So my conclusion for this at 299, I think, is probably going to be the better DPI, is 1200 at 20%. So there's 1200, there's your 20%. You see that? But really, you could go, if you want it nice and dark, there's nothing wrong going up to 30%. I mean, you could even go down to 1000 at 20%. I mean, if you want it lighter, obviously, you can up the power and stick at 20%. Again, it's going to be user preference. Coming over to it, I don't think that the pictures and the images, the vectors and the images did too well on this laser, only because it's a little bit shaky. I don't know whether it's the laser or maybe it's something we've not dialed in. But with this one, we did this original one at 300 dpi. Now I don't know if you can see the wording on this. There's like shadowing. You see the shadowing? So that's something I need to have a look into. But when it comes to the images and the vectors, I up the DPI just to see if we can get a bit of a darker image, which is what we've got. And really, I think that's probably is burnt in a little bit too much. So in the conclusion for that, I think that the words, which are these here and these here, not so much these because obviously they're shadowing, but here, I would do them at 1200 at 30%. That's a pretty good burn. And turn it round. It's just not crystal clear. So I need to have a look into that. And the images, I think at 425 is good, at 1200 at 35 or even 30%. So I'd say 30 to 35% on that. I mean, that's 35, and 30 would give you just a little bit less burning. And then the vector is done at 1200 at 30%. Again, this one was done at 29988. I didn't up that to 425. But yeah, either's pretty good. So we're going to do one final test where I'm going to do image on slate. Chances are, if you're not just starting out in the hobby and you're getting one of these to go to shows, you're going to be adding names onto products. So if you're like me, you'll have already done your products on your bigger machines, and then when you're at the show, you can either sell the product as is, or if somebody like they're personalising with their name on, then you've got these little machines to do that. So I'm going to do a test on slate for the image and the vector, which is like what I've done with the wood, but I'm also going to do a bigger word, maybe just a name, just so we can see, because obviously these are all done very small. You're not going to be doing anything that small, especially if you're doing names on, say maybe we've got a design of a slate, you know, you're not going to be doing names this small. We'll do the image and we'll do wording on a slate as well, for the Sculpfun and for the Pixi, so we can get that dialed in. Okay, so see you in a minute. We're going to get back to lasering and I'll come back with my conclusions. So having a look at this, actually now we're doing it as a bigger writing, we actually have lost that shadowing on the Pixi, and I actually really like this at 1200 at 30%, 29988. That is really crisp and clean. So that's for the Pixi. And then this one is for the Sculpfun, 3000 at 20. Again, it's nice and crisp. I think we could go a bit deeper with that. I think we could get that a bit darker if we had to. 3000 at 30. Let's go and do the image and the lettering on slate, because personally for me, slate is probably going to be the one that I'm going to personalise more. This is handy for the likes of bottle openers, maybe wooden boxes. Wouldn't really do wooden boxes on site, but I would put a name on, maybe in a market. But slate, I've got charcuterie boards, signs, I've got coasters, there's all sorts that I've got in slate that I probably would be doing at a market. So let's jump into doing the image and the lettering now larger on slate, and then just see where we get to. Okay, so just a quick side note, just as I turn on the Pixi, you can hear actually how much quieter it is than the iCube, and as that kicks up, look, you can actually hear the hair kick in. But yeah, the Pixi one is a lot quieter than the Sculpfun iCube. So this is your control panel for your Algo Pixi. This is the last test we're going to do. It's a nice little thing because it means you don't have to take your computer with you. Personally, I would take my computer. So you've got on here, you've got controls, you can control your axis, you can start your job from there as well. You've got Algo Sketch where you can write a name. I'm doing it left-handed. Write a name and you can center it and put it where you want. On there's all your little controls. You've got Algo Type where you can type a word in. I didn't really show you this, so SD cards, you can do your designs on a bigger computer, maybe in Lightburn, put them onto an SD card and you can take that with you as well and do that. Or you can use the USB, which is what will be lit up if I had my computer plugged in. And you don't need to change that setting, so you don't need to tell this machine when you've got your Lightburn set up, you don't need to come in here and tap that you've got the USB connected. It automatically knows that. And you've got projects, so I'm going to do a project. I'm just going to do an example. I'm going to find, there's 40 examples on here. I'm just going to find something that we can do today. So let's do Alien 3. It comes up, it tells me it's 5 watt power, which we know. It's going to be on 3mm plywood, which we know, and it's going to take 4 minutes and 49 seconds. I need to make sure we get the height right. So there's the height. Put the little top back on. And let's home it again. I'm just going to run another test just to make sure the frame's in the right place, which it is. Okie dokie. And then I'm going to shut this down. I'm just going to pull you up so you can see what I'm doing on the little on there. So we know that we've got the range and everything right. Set engraving origin to preview range, start. And it's telling me close lid safely. Now it's on, ignore that. And it's starting. So on the little screen it's showing me it's working, it's telling me percentage, high 3mm plywood, I've scanned it, I've done that. 100% speed and 80% power, that's quite a lot considering what we've just done. So let's see how this goes. Very, very slow doing this bit. But actually, considering it's got no air attached to it and it's got no filter attached to it, it's actually not really that smoky in here, if I'm honest with you. It's no good if you went to a show, you're going to have a desktop filter. But in terms of working in, especially if you were new to the hobby, it's actually not that bad. And it's done. We want to click that we've finished it, so let's go back up to the screen and we'll click finished. There we go, takes you back to your handy dandy main screen. This has got like a little notification in there. Check your door. So again with this one you've got to make sure that that door is shut. There's like a little, you hear it click. You've got to make that sure that's shut before you go, which is quite a good safety feature to have really. Let's have a look at this. Well, it's cut through it. It has cut it. Actually, that's pretty good. I quite like that. What a fun little thing that you can do. Great for kids. Okay, so now we've done all the testing, there's something I do want to point out about this Pixi laser. was we were saying about taking it out to markets and maybe letting children have a go, maybe using one of these pre-designed projects. How about taking it to the next level? What if we had a product, I don't know, we've got wooden cards. What if we did one, say, for a dad, and the parent come and said, but we'd like to have my daughter's or my son's handwriting on there. Well, with this machine, you can do it there and then on site. Whereas before you'd have to get them to write it down, put it into Lightburn and go that way about it. But what about on site? Obviously you've got your typing, but go to Sketch. Get them to write the name. They can do it live there and then, and you can put it onto your product. So let's just try that now actually. Let's see how well this works. So we'll just get this, let's just get this set up for the wood. The laser focus, really important that you've got your laser focus for every different material. Make sure you've got your protective shield on. Again, make sure you're wearing your glasses. We'll go on to Algo Sketch. We'll go into the settings, go onto the writing tool. I'm going to go a bit darker, and then you've got your rubber out and stuff. So I'm going to have to come this side to do it. Sorry if my hand's in the way. Let's try and do something like to dad. There we go. And then let's see how this lasers. So come back over to the tool, press the next button. It's converting your text now. So you can actually put your cutter board in settings, but we don't actually want one. So it's set to no border. Look at this, you can say how dark you want it. How clever is that? 4,500, 100% power. 6,000, 80%. So actually the speed on this machine is pretty good. Let's go for maybe that one and confirm. Okay, so it even lets you do different materials. So you've got basswood, plywood, eucalyptus plywood, pine board, walnut cherry, MDF, acrylic. Oh my goodness, how good is this? Cardboard. That is absolutely amazing. So, oh, you can even slow the speed down, look, so you can even go to medium. Let's go to medium and see what settings it gives us. You can change the power yourself. So let's do 40% because we know that that's pretty good. Okay, so processing. I wonder if we can just make it a bit smaller. There we go. So we don't want it that big on our wood. So let's just focus it. Just make sure we're completely on and we're square as we can be. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And we're going to press start. It even tells you the size, so you can use this this up and down here just to do your sizes as well. I wonder if you can move. How good is that? So you can put your material on. It even moves your laser. Let's just see. We're now out, so let me just set this back up again. But you can move it around on the screen as well, so that's perfect if you wanted to do your own placement. So we're done. We're going to press start. It's going to tell me that I haven't got this down, so let's make sure that's down. Ignore, and it automatically starts. Listen how quiet it is. There we go. Let's see how long this is going to take now. Oh my goodness, look at that. How good is that? So yeah, just another little thing that you can do on site with handwriting, which I think is a pretty good selling point if you're a small business doing a little market. I know that's something that we will certainly use. How amazing is that? Try and get it focused for you so you can see, but how good is that? I think that's pretty amazing. So yeah, just another one of the things that these fabulous machines can do. So I actually quite like these machines. I think they're kind of fun. Pretty good learning curve on them if you were new to the hobby. Definitely two of the best purchases I've made for such small machines. I've got bigger 40-watt machines, but which one would I take to a market and which one was I most impressed about? I think I was most impressed, if I'm honest, with the Pixi. Even though I didn't do too well with the wood, and we had the shadowing, didn't we, of the words, but when it went to bigger wording, we didn't have the problem with the shadowing again. So I don't know if that's just because it was such a small machine and it's such a small font that I've used there. I don't know, maybe it'd be different in different fonts at different sizes. I like the crispness of the Sculpfun. I think for taking it to a market or a show, that the Sculpfun has to win it really, because it's got its own air filter, which obviously if you're at a show you can't be choking everybody out. Although if you're only doing wording, if you're only personalising your existing products, then you're not going to get, it's not like you're cutting, so you're not going to get loads of smoke. But it's not, obviously not advisable. You want to have a filter on that. I haven't shown you the pictures on the vectors on slate. So this is the Sculpfun one, and I actually didn't think it did that bad of a job. If we can get that in the lighting, that's really nice and crisp and white, and I would be happy to personalise a product actually on site at a market using this Sculpfun. Again, I'd probably be the same with the Pixi, if I'm honest with you. It wouldn't be my first choice, but again, it gives nice crisp lines. Not as bright, if you can see on these, not as bright as the Sculpfun, but it is a 5-watt laser. Considering it's a 5-watt laser, it's pretty amazing, and it's got its own little built-in features as well, so you can do this. Perfect if you've got a child that maybe likes lasering, would like to get into the hobby, or even if you're as a parent and you've got one of these, you can include your children in getting them to do stuff before they get into Lightburn and how to design their own stuff in Lightburn. What a fun little thing you can do, and it cuts, how impressive, a 5-watt laser. I know it's only 3mm basswood, but that is pretty impressive, I must admit, for a 5-watt laser. I remember my first 10-watt laser, and I really struggled, I mean years ago, really struggled cutting through that. So very, very impressive. So yeah, I think that they're fun machines to use. I don't think that I would not use them. I think that would keep them in the workshop for the odd occasions where maybe the bigger machines are already running different jobs, and maybe I've got something smaller that are like a key ring or something like that. I would use both of these machines. For taking it out at markets, my preference would be the Sculpfun. Would 100% be the Sculpfun. I feel like not only is it cleaner and a brighter image, what would frighten me, if I'm dead honest, would be this shadowing. You're a bit naffed, aren't you, at a market, in all honesty, if somebody comes up and wants a personalisation and that's how it turns out. You've not only wasted your time, you've wasted your customers' time. It doesn't look great in front of customers, but you've also wasted your product. So yeah, until I've done a bit more testing with this machine and a bit more comfortable with it, I'll maybe try and do the smaller writing, then I would leave that at home. But again, when you think where lasers have come from to where we are now, I actually love these machines. I think they're brilliant, I really do. And I think if you've got the money, you've got the time, and you want to 100% try them out, and I wouldn't even like to recommend one over the other if you were just to try them out because you've got a hobby. I think they're both equally as good. I mean, you can get them in the 3-watt, you can get them in the 5-watt, and you can get them in the 10-watt. But if you are already a laser engraver and you are going out to markets and you were going to use one of these, personally for me it would be the Sculpfun, and that's what I would recommend, the Sculpfun. And that's it really. That's all I really wanted to do, and I really wanted to just show everybody my take on how these machines work and how they do on these two different materials. I'd like to try them on other materials. I've got dark pieces of wood, I've got some acrylic, I've got some metal business cards, all that sort of stuff. I would love to try these machines on, and I think going forward on other videos, you know, if that's what you wanted to see, I would absolutely love to do another video using different products, because I think there's so much more that these machines can actually do. I mean, look at the scope. I mean, we're not talking that we're going up to 90, 80, 90, 100% just to get these clean images. We're talking 20% on a 10-watt laser and 30% on a 5-watt laser. And just look at the clarity. I mean, some might say that's a bit dark and it's a little bit burnt around the edges. I would say that's a little bit too light for me. But when you think it's a 5-watt and a 10-watt laser, pretty incredible. So let me know down in the comment what your thoughts are. Maybe you've got one of these machines, maybe there's something I've missed, maybe you've done something a bit different. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, what would you use this machine for? You know, if you were a hobbyist, would you use it? Would this be something that you would like? And I will see you in the next video. I hope you like this new channel, and we're going to be doing so much more. We've got some Christmas products coming up, some crafting products that we want to show you. We've got some more machines, some more laser engravers that we want to show you. Please give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.